now. So when you do, then you'll already have that strong team. Okay. So now what am I doing? Let me go back to Facebook and we shall see what is happening. When do you find out about your submission, Lisa?
Um, the conference is next week, and on Thursday night they'll
Oh,
announce the finalists in the contest, and then on Saturday they'll announce who wins. So I'm just happy I made.
hey, we're on StreamYard. Yeah, that's a big accomplishment. Congratulations.
What
Thank you.
contest is this?
The
The
Genesis contest for American Christian fiction writers.
good, yeah, I was in the Genesis too. I think I got to oh, I don't know, not winning a level below that, with a group of people.
Yeah, they think they're going to choose
Finally.
three finalists
Mhm.
in each category, and I'm hoping, but I'm not expecting. I didn't expect to make the semifinals.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
it's tough. I've
well,
All
been
right.
in for several years, so
I
I
keep
learned a lot.
telling I keep telling people that was my AGT golden buzzer moment when they called me to tell me I made the semifinals.
Oh,
Yeah,
I bet. I bet. That's so exciting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We are in business here. So
okay.
if you want to hang out with us here on the on StreamYard, well, you're welcome to, or you want to just not be here, that's also fine. Whatever you want. We have Facebook user says hello. If you don't register with StreamYard, which the instructions are right above, just comment and let us know who you are. It's totally fine if you don't want to register, but just so we know which lovely people are joining us. Kathy is here. Hi, Kathy. And Beth says hello, good evening. Again, hi, Facebook user. We don't see who you are without going back and forth. And so if you're commenting and haven't registered with StreamYard, go ahead and just tell us your name. We're so thankful that you're all here. Um,
Yeah, we need their name
awesome.
for giving prizes at least.
Yes.
So it would be good if
Yes.
you could register, and if you can't, please put your name in every comment.
Hi,
So
Barbara. Thank you so much. Barbara says, congratulations on your release. Thank you. I appreciate all your support as you're always been so generous with your mentorship and reviews on that. Hello, Shonda. We're so glad to see you. Um, Welcome. We managed. Dana and I and Lisa, we got this working. So this is Lisa down here. She's an up and coming biblical fiction writer, and she was our guinea pig. So we're so glad that you showed up early. Kathleen is here. Hello, Kathleen. Charlene. You thought you were, I know, right? Technology, Charlene. I tell you. Thought she was registered, but you know, it's been a while, so it's all good. So yeah, so we're super excited about this. This is the second time we've used StreamYard here in Biblical Fiction Aficionados. If it doesn't look like we're wearing name tags at their labels at the moment. I'm Naomi. This is Dane. No, oh wait. Ah, where are you? I can't do it. There we are. There's Dana. This is Lisa. um, and yeah, Dana and I are thrilled to run Biblical Fiction Aficionados. Such a great group, and we love talking about Bible times and early church novels here in this space. And we're just thrilled. If this is something, if you have a new biblical fiction or early church book that you would like to have an interview on, that is a service Dana and I offer. We'd love to get some more of these interviews up for the community to enjoy. But we truly love all of you, and thank you so much for all your support with um, launches in general. I love how supportive this group is with which each author and tidbit and all the new things. Like it's such a fun place to be. So super thankful for all of you. And yeah, I think we can get going. with our time here. Thank you for tuning in. If you have not registered, you can register. You should be able to, right up here in the comments, you should be able to register with StreamYard. It's a 2-click process, and then we can see your name, and that way you are registered for. We do have a giveaway for this live interview for a paperback book based loosely off of where Amazon delivers. So just a little caveat, but we are trying to include other than just the United States in that too. So
I have a quick question to clarify, because
yeah.
when you point up there, I don't see anything except for that little duck head. So would they click on the duck head and then
Let me go switch over to Facebook and see what you guys are seeing.
So you're
Okay, so
talking
yeah,
about
so
going back to Facebook and
yes,
clicking on
if you are on Facebook and watching us, it is right up here on right above my head where I see it.
Okay.
So it's a blue link. It says streamyard.com/Facebook. You click once on that, and then you're going to click once on the blue button, and then it should take you right back here.
Okay, great.
You see the StreamYard and the duck head. Well, Shonda, you are registered, so I think whatever you did it great. So yeah, so StreamYard is a pretty good platform. So we did like it last time we used it when Dana's book released. So did this work? Facebook user? No, I have no knowledge of who you are. Whoops, there you are. So if for some reason you're not seeing your own profile, then you can just comment your name right here when you make a comment and whatever. And then those who are commenting, those names will be added in to a giveaway for a paperback of Shira's Legacy. So,
right, we actually have 2 paperbacks to give away. One is for all the people who sent a question before this call will be put in a drawing. And then the second is all the people who comment are going to put, or interact in some way, are going to be put in a drawing for the other one. And out of both groups, you have to either be here or to have watched the replay. So, okay.
Hello, Debbie. Thanks for coming.
Pearland, huh?
Pearland. Oh, that's funny. I read it at Pearland, but I think Pearland is it pear or pearl?
I don't know. Either way, it's great.
Let us know, Debbie, because we love learning new things.
Like I'm just seeing a pear orchard.
I like it. It sounds very fairy tale retelling-ish. The great king of Pearland.
Once upon a time, a well-known city that
it probably is. Sorry,
don't know anything about.
Yes, we are Arizonans, so we don't know.
Okay.
So okay.
Are we ready to begin?
Let's do this.
Okay. So in celebration of Naomi's great book, Shira's Legacy, we have a number of questions. So we're going to just get started with some of these. Here's number 1 from Barbara Britton, author of a series of biblical fictions featuring Zelophehad's daughters. And her question is, how did you discover Shira in the Bible? Is Shira another great biblical heroine that no one has heard of?
I think so, Barbara. She is definitely like your daughters of Zelophehad. Say that 5 times fast. If you, she's definitely like your girls. She's tucked away. She only has 1 verse. Her family has 5 verses in a genealogy. So we're in the midst of who was whose father. And then we're like, and Shira built 3 cities. So yeah, she's very tucked away. But what I love about Shira is that she actually 2 of the cities that she built are still standing to this day.
Amazing. Okay, now Kathy Purdue asks, have you ever been to Israel?
I have not. unfortunately. I That would be pretty amazing, but I have only been by Google Maps and then reading other biblical fictions um, from my fellow biblical fiction authors. So I've not been there in person. It sounds amazing, though.
Yeah. Okay. Number 3, we have from Franny Vanicelli. Tell me if I'm pronouncing these names wrong. Is that right, Franny? I have trouble filling in the gaps when I read scripture. How do your
Mhm.
storylines come to you, and how do you develop them so well?
Oh, thank you, Franny. With Shira, it's kind of in those 5 verses. It's a time lapse where it's going from where the brothers are killed, and then there's the mourning, and then baby brother is born. So there's a bit of a time lapse. So I can kind of use that as an outline. Of course, with books like Ezekiel, it has a little bit more filled in the gaps for that timeline, for that outline, and I can do that. So I'll plot those out and say this needs to happen at the beginning, this needs to happen in the middle, and then this needs to happen by the end. So then I've got a real basic outline based off of those 5 verses. And then I really feel that you can learn who a person is based off of um, what their people are. We can, based on my research, she is Joseph's granddaughter, so we know a lot about Joseph. So I can look back at Genesis and I can see what his timeline is and what he's going through, and then I can kind of play that into um, building who Shira is because of who her family is.
Yeah, I totally agree. In fact, I had to stop reading and text Naomi when I came to the part where Shira is talking to her grandfather. It was just so moving. And I'm not going to say any more about it except for that if you haven't read her book yet, you're going to find a lot of surprises in there that are just wonderful and really are documented. Even what she said about the brother, I'm like, a baby brother? Let me see that. And then I dug out
Are
the,
you sure?
yeah, yeah. So, anyway, very good. All right, here we come with number 4. This is from Lorraine Marcus. Now, Lorraine gave us 4 questions, and I'm going to choose, well, some of
Are you
them,
gonna?
read them all.
Was
There's
that?
so many. What was the
Was
most difficult researching for information? What was the most rewarding? Did the hot spell there frustrate or hinder your concentration when writing? How do you focus on the task? Do you have any advice?
Well, Lorraine, speaking of hot spell, I have not turned on my fan, so it's getting kind of warm in my back room. So hold on one second.
It's pretty hard to ignore 114. So that's how we deal with it. We just sweat. Okay.
All right. Whew. I will be less melty right now. Oh, goodness. Just wanted to get in here on Shonda's real quick. I love her character. She was bold. Yes,
Mm.
absolutely. She was a very determined lady. And Dana, I agree with you. The scenes with Joseph were wonderful. Thank you. So the most difficult thing to research was how to be a architect, because that's that's kind of the whole premise of the story, but I don't have a whole lot of knowledge. So there was this one time that I was looking up like I needed her to have like this life halting thing with a big piece of rock. I needed that to be like very part of that. But then I was like, I don't even know if that's legitimately how a rock would behave. I guess so what do you get from a big old slab of rock that's in the ground, so I looked online and I found a limestone research institute, or it might have been a quarry. And so I called Todd from Indiana, and it took a while, but when he determined that I was in Arizona asking for something in Israel from his Indiana, then he was very helpful. He probably was like, I've never had a call like this before, but I learned a lot about limestone, and you could build on it if you needed to, and it would make it a strong foundation. Or if it was not very solid, like it will chip away very easily, then that could be used and ground down and mixed with hot water, and then it becomes this lime, and it will be like a mortar. So I'm like, either way, it looked problematic to Shira, but thankfully we're able to use that and use that rock for a problem, and then also to our advantage as well. um, I think, let's see, what was the next one? I think the next one, the most fun thing to research was about Joseph. Because if you want to find a time zone or timeline, then finding the Joseph, like there's several viziers who are mentioned in Egyptian history that Egyptologists speculate, could this have been the real Joe? And the gentleman who really caught my eye, traditionally, he's placed too far back in the timeline, and it wouldn't coordinate with the Bible timelines, Imhotep. But then lately, some researchers are saying, well, it's possible that the pharaohs have staggered timelines. So you could have had the same pharaohs at different times. And Egypt wasn't the best at keeping records, so it's hard to tell. But what I found when I discovered about Imhotep was that he was a vizier, a foreign vizier, known for saving Egypt from 7 years of famine by interpreting the dream pharaoh. A lot of his stuff was based around this pharaoh and the famine. And then the one thing that really just like nailed it in for me, there's so many other things that nail it in for me. And the one that was really the one that just really sank it in for me was in building this granary. There's one big massive granary, and he is it's all underground, and it's filtered into by 11 other granaries. So you'd scoop out grain from the first one, and then it'd filter in from the others. And that sounded a lot like the 11 stalks of grain bowing to the one, if you remember Joseph's dream. So I really had a fun looking into him and all that he accomplished. The heat, let's see, I don't remember. Obviously, the heat is getting to me right now. The heat, I am from Arizona, so I'm actually not in the hot area like Dana is, but it still gets warm. After 100, it's just hot, right? Like, so you just stay inside all the time. But it's not too bad up here because it cools down at night, and then we're in small, gentle mountains or hills, and so it cools down at night. So it is hot in Pearland, Texas. Yes, Texas is hot too. It's probably hot everywhere though. We've had quite a heat wave. So
yeah. I'm really excited about all your questions. I read them all and just thought they were so great. But one thing I want to point out, she really has researched well, but she doesn't make it sound onerous. It's like, it's just easy to read and to feel like she's got it and you can follow along right with her and you understand it. I totally believed everything she wrote about the construction methods, and even Shira says things that a construction worker would say, and it's just fantastic, and it's like, I was so happy to see at the end her little note on the person that she researched with, because I just knew that she had somebody special helping her. And yes, she did. So
good old Todd. Thank you, Todd. I appreciate it. Well, it's really cool too, because where I'm at, there's an archaeological park. They've restored or dug it out. So that is wrong century. It's guessed to be built around 1200 or 1400 AD. So we're still 1,000 years different, but I don't think the stone working has changed too much. So some of that foundational work and stuff, like I went there and I just sat and I worked on my laptop, to get myself in that environment.
Wow.
And you can just kind of take yourself out of the modern constraints of life. And then you can just kind of picture it because it's also up on a hill and you can kind of visualize that. So it's pretty, people have been doing pretty amazing architectural things for many years. So it's neat.
Okay. Here is Charlene Capodici. I was wondering if Naomi always wanted to be a writer and why she chose Shira as a topic.
Hi, Charlene. No, I did not actually. In school, I was a horrible student and I just procrastinated on everything. So the one thing that I did write was like turned in way late and didn't wasn't so great. I love seeing in the Bible, I love seeing those random tidbits that just pop out, like, oh, look, here's a lady who built 3 cities. What's the story here? And so that started with Rahab's courage. And I had just was reading in the Bible and I was just like, what if one of those unnamed spies that Rahab hid turned out to be her biblical husband that's mentioned? We see him mentioned in Luke, or I'm sorry, not Luke, in Ruth. Sorry, I heard my dog bark, and I guess we'll just blame the heat still. We'll just keep riding that one for Ruth. She's mentioned her husband is mentioned in Ruth, and so then I just kind of learned from there. I took a lot of online, or I looked online for a lot of articles on how to write a story, and I worked the best I could. I sent it in for Tina Radcliffe did a editing class, a several week editing class. And so I had her look at it and I kept working on it and, kept learning new things. And then I finally found a review group, my critique partners, and they gave me some very helpful direction. And so I reworked it and then I submitted it, and Celebrate Lit picked it up on the first time. So it was a blessing. And I'm very thankful for the opportunity to share. So yeah, it's usually just those little itty bitty tidbits that sparks my imagination. That's what I really hold on to is that randomness. So
Okay, so next we have Amanda Gardner, and she also has several questions. And her first one has really already been answered, which is what inspired you to write this book. But she does also ask, how long did it take you to study, dig deep, and write the book? And do you ever think about writing a Bible study book?
Wow, thank you, Amanda. This one, I started researching. It probably took about a year, and I wasn't sure how it was going to go because right in the middle of my depth of my research, I signed on to do a Christmas novella in my publisher's Christmas at the Castle collection. And so I had to step back from, Old Testament and get involved in several months into the New Testament for King Herod and his palace and his scribes and stuff like that for a Christmas story. And so it was really, for me, it felt like it was hard to get back in that groove. And it was rough. So I'm really thankful that everyone's enjoying Shira right now, because between that and then she's got such a strong personality and I admit I like things nice and neat. And if I have a plan, then I like it my way. But this is Shira is a little bit more of a big dreamer, and like my way has to get done. And I'm pretty flexible and laid back. So that was hard I think just the combination of that and then not getting her as much as not relating to her. I guess I did get her, but not relating to her as much kind of I was just like, okay, we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
What was the second part of that? I'm sorry, Dana.
Well, I think you might. Oh no, wait. Do you ever think about writing a Bible study book?
A Bible study. I have not thought of that. I guess that's something to consider. I learned personally. I learned through fiction better. The Lord will teach me like a Bible study through fiction, and it doesn't even have to be just biblical fiction. It can be just any great Christian fiction. The Lord will highlight that and be like, this is where you are right now. Do you like what this looks like? And I have to work on that. So I've not considered specifically doing a Bible study now, but I guess that's something to keep in mind.
Okay. Now this is a good question, and this is by Rebecca Tellez, who also has a whole bunch of questions, but I think I'm going to read them one or two at a time. So maybe I'll give you two. Shira.
Okay.
Shira has such a strong personality. Is she modeled after anyone you know personally? And what resources do you use for your research?
Not specifically personally. I do have a couple of big dreamer ladies in my life. My sister Carissa and my co-host on Behind the Story, Lisa. They are big dreamers, so I did dedicate this book to them. But as far as how bold Shira is, if you've ever seen Heartland, the TV show, or Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, Shira would fit in really well, like Lou Fleming or like Dr. Mike, like just very big personality. So not specifically a personal, but definitely a related thing there.
Phew,
What was number two?
I'm afraid you were going to say it was me. Okay. What resources do you use for your research?
So the Bible is first and foremost. I want to make sure that I'm getting not only those what's happening at First Chronicles 7, but also, again, like I said, you can see who Shira is based off of who we know about her. We know her dad was Ephraim. We know, or according to my research, her dad is Ephraim. Her uncle is Manasseh. Her grandfather was Joseph. So I want to get all those accounts in the scripture. And then I obviously used a modern, current day rock quarry as a research there too. But the properties of rock probably aren't going to change too much, from the time that the Lord spoke them into being. So it still worked, I think. And then I also will use Josephus and different historical documents as well, especially for like Ezekiel's song, where it's a little bit later, and there are more historical documents like Babylonian documents and stuff that would help make that culture richer. So those are the general ones, and then sometimes Google can get you a good start. You can be like, oh, that's interesting, and then of course going to go make sure your time accurate and all that. So.
Okay, so now Rebecca has a trick question. Do you have a favorite book of the Bible?
A favorite book of the Bible? That's a good question. I think if I can change that a little, Rebecca, to the person I most admire, besides Jesus, of course, I think would be Daniel. I really love how the scripture shows him standing up for what is right and standing up for the Lord today, and then standing up for the Lord tomorrow, and just day after day, he's making that same choice. And it's truly what I would hope for my life is that.
That's great. Okay, she also asks, I know your next book takes place in the New Testament. Are you going to stay in the New Testament for more than one book?
Yeah, so my next book is called And Their Numbers Grew. And that is I'm co-writing with my good friend Donna Elaine. If you've not read her books, she's so deep and fantastic. She writes in most recently she's just released it like a sci-fi. She's also done like a Civil War historical. She does Bible studies, so she's done them all. And that one is as the church is spreading from Jerusalem, and we can look at how it happens and how Saul's influence over these people based off of there's 4 people interwoven through that. So that's Stephen, who is the first martyr, Ananias of Damascus, Barnabas, the encourager, and then Tabitha, and how Saul changed their lives and the life of the structure of the church, really. So yes, after And Their Numbers Grew, I'll be working on more with Barnabas. It's the first time that I felt that there's more to be told and actually write a genuine sequel.
Okay, I want to tell you that I read this next question, the final question by Rebecca. I read it wrong, and I was going to ask you, do you have an Old Testament cookbook? But no, that's not what she really said. Do you have a new Old Testament book, Cooking?
Oh, okay. I have, there's a couple, again, with the random trivia bits that just pop out to me. One that doesn't have a whole lot of hope, and there's not a whole lot of light to be brought in, is right after Samson and Delilah. If you recall, this is in Judges 7, I think. In as Delilah is being brought over by all the guys who want to kill Samson, they're like, we're going to give you 1,100 shekels of silver. And then you go one chapter over after they're done, and this guy named Micah is bringing back 1,100 pieces of silver to his mother. Like, it's just like, what is happening here? And then she's like so thankful that he brought back her money. I wondered, did he steal it from mom to go pay? Like, was he one of the leaders? He brings it back, and she makes a shrine for him, and they hire a Levite priest, and they're like, we're going to make you our priest. Like, it's just like this horrible story, but it's just so interesting on what, like, the connection of the 1,100 shekels catches my attention. So I don't know if that'll ever come, because that's kind of, again, it's like, it's not very honoring to the Lord. So the other author is Donna E. Lane. And she is fantastic. So
I'm just going to say right now that we're going through these really fast because Naomi has all the answers like right on the top of her head. So I do have several more questions, but
Beth says I have to go look that up now. Yeah, it's like right after Samson and Delilah. Start the last part of Delilah so you can see that 1,100 shekels. That's random, right? Shonda says looking forward to reading, and Rebecca says excited to see what you do with that story. It might just be in my brain. I'm just going to tell you there. If I can't find the redemption value in this, then it's not going to.
Yeah,
I don't want to spend a year, but I don't want to spend a year in that place if I can't find a redemption in it. But
okay, let's see. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat, and we'll get to them too, I bet. So, rumor has it, there's a big stack of empty Tupperware by your front door. When are you planning to return it? Question from Needs to Know.
Yes, there is. Actually, it's not too bad now. It's I did have my friend from church. They gave us, well, a couple weeks before that, I had a Tupperware of hers and then 2 jars, and I've given back the Tupperware and the 2 jars. but I still have her lids, so I need to. That's hilarious. Yeah, so public service announcement. If you have ever brought me food and you want your Tupperwares back, you can come to my house and I will give them to you. I promise I'm not trying to hold them hostage.
Okay, here we go. Manasseh is portrayed as having an Aramean/Syrian concubine who produced his heir. Tell us a little more about Manasseh and his relationship with his brother Ephraim.
Okay. Yeah. So Manasseh and Ephraim, they've got part of this whole family is actually where the youngest is honored higher than the older. This will this is shown with Manasseh and Ephraim when Jacob blesses Ephraim first. And this is shown with Joseph and his 10 brothers. This is shown with Jacob over Esau, and it's shown with Isaac over Ishmael. Like we have seen this generational legacy, unfortunately, of the youngest being there, and then their sibling rivalry that goes with it. So it was interesting in that same part in Chronicles, somewhere right around there, it tells Manasseh's lineage, and it says that he has an Aramean or Assyrian concubine, and that's where his heir came from. So, thinking about like they've not been, they're not in Egypt, they're not opposed to the Israelites yet. That happens in Exodus, which is a couple hundred years later, I believe. So I would imagine that they would have the freedom to move up, and I use that. If you've read Shira's Legacy, they have the freedom to move up through Canaan, and I also have that Pharaoh pretty much might have had the makings of an empire, because it's listed in the Bible that people for the famine would give their land to Pharaoh. It's specifically only for Egyptians, but I imagine that it's possible that some of the other surrounding areas offered that same thing as well. So that just having seen that Manasseh had an Aramean lady, it just kind of helped with that. I have him sent off. This is my brain, that had him sent off to the other side of the Jordan to create another outpost. And he's got the sibling rivalry happening with his brother, because he's still not over the fact that grandfather blessed Ephraim be over Manasseh. So he comes in, he shows up, and he is he's got himself, like, what if they were still down in Egypt, where did he get this Syrian lady? So and then when they went up to bury Jacob's bones, Ephraim and Manasseh would have been early 20s, late teens. So it's been a while, like from that time to now, where they have where Ephraim has his own children, grown children. So it makes sense to me that his wife didn't have any children, and so he finds a Syrian lady who's maybe it was a good political bond with the guy in the area or whatever. But so that brings in a whole fun dynamic too, with the rivalry and the family dynamic happening in the camp. It's kind of messed up, but they let each other get to the point where they're holding this grudge rather than working for forgiveness or whatever. So just a note in there, I guess, that if you have odds with your family, then it's not worth the heartache to keep building that odds and to make amends. So
yeah, I think you portrayed that more in this book than any other one, and I think you did a fantastic job. Totally realistic that it would cause problems. So we do have.
Let me just hop on.
Okay.
Beth is just popping on and asked, is that what you're going with?
Yeah, that's what I was going to go with.
Okay.
How did you initially get started writing biblical fiction?
Yeah, so that was back with Rahab, and it was just imagining, well, what if one of these hidden slaves was 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 her biblically mentioned husband Salma. So I went with that, and then I just explored from there, and I did the research in the area. There's not a whole lot listed in that time frame, but what could it have been like, and just kind of went from there, and kind of learned all from the articles I could online, and took a couple of classes, and went from there. Oh no, you're fine. No worries. She said you did say that. I'm so sorry. No
No,
worries.
that kind of got covered a little bit, but still, I think that this question is a specific question. So,
So neat to be reading about Ephraim and Manasseh in the Bible for Bible study, and then read your book with these two in the story. A God wink for sure. That is cool. Good timing. And then Rebecca says I need to write a book about him. Which him is that, Rebecca? Is that Manasseh that I need to write about? Um, Go ahead. Oh, there we go. Nope, that was the same one. Okay. Go ahead, Dana.
okay. So, who was your favorite character to write, and who was not your favorite to write?
Um, let's see. I think I've mentioned a little bit about just how it was difficult to relate to Shira. So maybe that was the least favorite.
Oh, really?
But just because it's the personalities are so vastly different from my own, I think,
Yeah.
But I hope that it I hope it worked. But I also liked Latif. I loved seeing his character. He is Shira's charioteer. He's been a slave in their family since he was a child. If you've read or have pre-ordered, and then you will be getting Joseph's Legacy. We meet Latif down there in that, and I just, what's true is true. What's right is right, what's wrong is wrong. He's very black and white, but he calls Shira um, on all of her junk. It's like he's very good for her, and it starts out like she gets herself is grounded basically by her older brother because she's trying to do this architecture stuff, and it's not her place, and then then she's pouting, and she's in her tent. She's in her tent for 2 weeks, and Latif comes at that point to bring her meal, and so she convinces him to stay a little bit longer and eat with her, so she's not bored out of her mind. And then eventually she starts realizing, oh, I really like him. So we've got like a cross-cultural romance going on, and so I really like Latif and his solidness, and like he was just like her junk. It was like he called her out on it, and yet that was his way, so it didn't offend her as somebody else would. Like her brother, if her brother tried to do that to her, then her older brother would be like, yeah, right, I'm not listening to you. Like, I don't have to listen to you. So Shonda says he was my favorite. Barbara says Latif was one of my favorites. Yes, he was wonderful. And it was really cool too, like with Latif, if you look at it's Egyptian scribes, you can see like there's a clay statue or model of like it's probably still preserved, but anyway, he's a scribe, but his face was just so captivating, even from like this really ancient clay statuette or whatever. And I just said that's my Latif. So I was actually had like a face to look at when I was imagining him. So
That's cool. You ought to put that on Facebook or something.
yeah, I've been meaning to, but it's slipped aside. So
Okay. What was your goal for this book, and has it changed since you began writing it?
I think the goal was to my goal is always to get you to look back in the scripture. That's my overall goal as writing biblical fiction, is for you to, I was hoping he would end up being the hero. Uh-oh, have you not read that far, Rebecca? Sorry. Spoiler alert. So I would love for you to check me on my, my scripture, and is this plausible? I'm not saying it's the way that it happened. I don't want to add to anything from the Bible, but that's always my goal. Going in further, I probably had some twists and turns that originally I thought needed to happen, or, different plot points. And then, again, with Shira, she has a mind of her own. So like, there was times that I had to change my direction. Oh, good. I haven't spoiled it. I finished it. I meant while I was reading it. Okay. Oh, good. Yeah. So I had to change direction because Shira's rather bossy. So.
Okay. Do you write on the computer, handwrite, or voice to text for your first draft?
That's on the computer now.
Okay. What is your creative process and inspiration and your writing schedule?
I'm looking for all of the details that I could find in the one passage, but also in the supporting passages in the Bible. And then I will outline it and do, it's kind of morphed into not being a very detailed outline, but it's an outline of something that needs to happen at each chapter. So I'm able to kind of have a structure, but then, so I have a goal to work towards, but then I have some more freedom to get there. So I try to set aside, my mornings for writing, and then afternoons when my creativity is gone, then I will work on marketing or whatever. Oh, it's been over 100 for 4 days and no AC, so my brain did not work. No worries. Make yourself cool, Rebecca.
What writing struggles did you have with this book?
I kind of mentioned it, that I interrupted myself to work on that Christmas project, and then that was really challenging for me. So I never felt like I got fully back in the groove. So I'm so thankful that Shira is going over so well, because I don't know what I was expecting, but that was a challenge for me.
Well, that comes to the end of our questions. Were you planning to, or unless anybody else has any follow-up questions?
Yeah, let me know in the comments if you've got anything. I'm going to pop over to Facebook real quick, see if what's happening over there. You know what? It looks like we're getting everything, because all of the comments are filtering over here to our StreamYard. So that's perfect. One question from Charlene. How long did it take to write this book? This one was about, including the time off I took for the Christmas novella, it was about a year from my first starting to write to sending it into my publisher. So this one has gotten faster. So that's good. Rebecca says, my favorite part was her and her grandfather in the granary. How did you make the scene so beautiful? Again, that was looking at this Joseph that I had selected as my Joseph, and seeing what his actual architectural thing is. And so it was just, that to me is so beautiful to see the Lord's provision for Egypt, for the world at the time, through Joseph. And so I was just so fascinated by it. It's you can find it in Saqqara, Egypt, and that was just so amazing to me on that. So that was I'm really a visual. I'm learning, obviously, that I'm a visual. Like, I have to look at Latif's face. I have to look at this actual research. But apparently that really pays off. So
Yeah, that's a neat piece of research. What part of it of Egypt?
It's called Saqqara, Saqqara. And I can put links in for the ones who had done a research to see the the ones that I followed with like this is Joseph. I can
Yeah,
put links in that because that's some pretty fascinating stuff. So this Joseph Imhotep was known for so many things. He was the first documented polymath, which is brilliant at multiple things. He was known for astronomy and medicine and archaeology and no, I'm sorry, architecture and alchemy. And like even later on, he was deified by the Greeks. We think the Greeks were the modern medicine, but they gave credit back to Imhotep. So he was a fascinating guy. Beth asks, have I been to biblical lands? No, unfortunately, except for Google and Google Earth and other people's beautiful writings like Dana's and Misu Andrews and Connie Lynn Cosette and all that. So I really appreciated the epilogue. It's always nice to see how characters end up. Thank you. That was a suggestion from an editor. I'm glad you liked that. No spoilers. That would be so cool. I agree with Kathy. She liked the epilogue. And Beth says, me neither. Heart, same. So.
okay. Were you going to read a little bit from the book?
Yeah.
Do you want to
Yeah,
ask
if you've got time.
Who's not read or who hasn't read
Well,
the
I was just going to read the first chapter, which is the preview, the sneak preview on Amazon. So it won't be too much of a spoiler. I'll just whet your appetite here. So let me get a drink. Excuse me. Okay, I know where the mute button is. For some reason, if I start coughing, I can turn it on mute and you don't have to hear that. All right, this is from, it's just the sneak preview on Amazon. Chapter 1. A foolish son is a grief to his father and bitterness to her who bore him. Proverbs 17:25. They've been taken. Shira gasped and whirled around, clutching the papyrus scroll to her chest. A donkey charged toward the foreman's shade, carrying Ezer in his stormy mood. Sweat covered her brother's brow, his short hair sticking to his forehead. Bruises covered his arms and bare chest, and his lip was bloodied and swollen. He tumbled down from the lathered donkey, flinging the reins to a nearby servant. This time more than before. Father charged out of the shade, eyes narrowed to slits. In 2 strides, he jabbed his quaking fingers to Ezer's chest. What have you done? We were vigilant, Father. Ezer's eyes widened as he raised his hands. We didn't fall asleep once. Then how? Shira stepped back, still holding the plans to our pounding chest. The workers shuffled over, concern draped on their faces like Egyptian linen. They were armed. Ezer spat at the ground. They crept in from the south. They must have been there all day, low in the grass. None of us noticed them. Father cracked his neck from side to side, his muscles and veins straining against his skin. They came at us upon us suddenly and with great numbers. We were ambushed. Ezer reached out as if the action would make his appeal more favorable. We were struck to the ground before we could raise our weapons. They tied us up and stole our horses, our chariots. Shira's chest constricted. What of their men, their brother? Where is Eliad? Ezer's tongue explored the cracked corner of his mouth. He's fine. He's tending to the men. Father lunged and gripped Ezer's arm so tightly Shira could see the white marks from where she stood. Father hauled him close until their nose touched. Do you swear on all the gods in my mother's land that you did not fall asleep or turn your attention from your duties? Ezer's jaw tensed as he applied pressure to Father's bad shoulder. I swear it. Father shoved Ezer away and squeezed the bridge of his nose. He swung around to face the workers who had gathered. Send ox carts out to the field to bring back the injured. Drive the cattle back between the well and the camp. Be sure to carry weapons and be on the alert. We will need to set up a row of defense before the well. The workers scattered at father's command, except for a couple who buzzed around Ezer like flies on a hot day. How many were there? How did you get free? Shira blocked out her brother's critical grumbling and stepped close to share father's confidence. We could offer a peace treaty. Come to friendly terms with the people of Gath. Have they indicated reasonably that we intruded on their land? It's not their land, it's the land of Pharaoh. Father's tone was sharp. We had talks of land rights as we entered the valley. Shira turned herself in a full circle. If the men from Gath determined to cause war, what safety did the open field offer? Indeed, the valley between the ridge of the mountains could be easily breached, and they'd be trapped. If they moved camp up the hill, at least they would be aware of any threat that arose. She directed her thoughts once again to father's words as he spoke. Need to be aware of the power of Pharaoh's army. How do we do that? We're far from Egypt. It would take months before they could give us relief. Shira, let me think it through without you interfering. I am the head of this enterprise, not you. Father stomped into his shade. I did not ask you for counsel. Father's rebuke slapped Shira as truly as if he had raised his hand against her. She crossed her own arms over the pressure building in her chest, clamped her mouth shut, and stalked in behind him. He needed input, whether he acknowledged it or not. He growled, seized the scribal basket, and hurled it to the ground, scattering the styli, papyrus, and ink jars across the ground. Shira tapped her foot and dug her nails into her forearm. Ezer ducked inside. We need to retaliate. We need to come back at them with the force of Egypt's army. What army? Thala's distinctive gravelly voice announced his arrival as he pressed into the crowded shelter. It would take months for Pharaoh's cavalry to arrive. Our army is laborers and women. All censure that had been scalded away by father's uncommonly harsh comment. Shira's pride could not stand to the point of brushing off this new offense. She pivoted herself in front of her eldest brother and jammed her fist on her hips. It's a shame the other women don't know how to wield a bow and arrow. They find it more valuable to do their part to keep the camp going. Thala's barb lodged fast in its normal place in Shira's chest. I keep this camp running more than you. Enough, Father Spello could summon Egypt's army. This is not the time to continue your childish spats. Shira gritted her teeth and shifted toward Ezer. Thala held her gaze with a glare of his own and crossed his arms over his chest. Now, if you don't mind, let's address the issue at hand. Father squeezed his fists together and shot a glare at all three of them. Sorry, Father, Shira murmured. Father gave no regard to her apology. The cattle have been stolen. That's not my fault. Ezer's hands flew up. And our men have been beaten. Father paced tightly. We need to pursue them and make them pay for interfering with the son of Egypt's vizier. Ezer's spittle flung out and landed on Shira's arm. Perhaps standing this close to her frothing brother wasn't the best plan. She wiped the moisture on her dress an inch to the side. If we don't, they'll just come back again and again until they've stolen our whole herd. Ezer clasped his hands behind him. This is a foolish idea to come up here without military presence. Thala drummed his fingers against his leg. Father struck his hands together. You will all be silent. I will determine the course of our actions. He paced around the space, leveling his glare at both of his sons. Shira lifted her chin and smirked at Thala. Father planted his feet. We will take a contingent to their camp and we'll have formal negotiations. You can't negotiate with the men of Gath. They have the upper hand. Thala's jaw clenched. I did not ask for your opinion. Father plowed past Shira and strode out to where the gathered workforce waited. For once, I agree with Shuthala. Ezer rammed into Father as he halted abruptly, creating a pileup of the siblings. If such a miracle can occur between my sons, then anything can happen with our treaty with Gath. Father's smile was like a crocodile's, cunning and determined as he strode to his tent, with Thala and Ezer yipping at his heels like hunting dogs intent on the scent. Shira tugged her braid. What would they have to offer to appease the bullying of the men of Gath? If Father extended goodwill and a sizable donation of Egyptian gold, what would prevent Gath from coming to plunder all their goods? Father emerged from his tent with his eyes freshly lined with coal and wearing his beaded fringe over his broad shoulders. We will not fight our neighbors. We've come with mission of diplomacy, settling Pharaoh's territory. Shira's pulse bored in her ears. If they had built on the mountain top, could this skirmish have been avoided? Dun dun dun.
That's great. Okay.
So, Kathy says I should do my audiobook. I am actually, Kathy. I've been given the rights to do that, and I'll be doing that. And I'm going to start my child one. It's going to be my novella on Desolate Heights, and that's Balaam's story about the talking donkey. So once this all settles down, I will be getting into that. So,
great. Well, when do you think we will be able to announce the winners?
I'd like to leave the comments open here on the Facebook page for until tomorrow. You're welcome to select the winner for the question giveaway if you're able to. I know there's a couple that came into the chat, so if you wanted to count that.
Yeah.
So do you want to just say we'll tally everything up by tomorrow and then let people know tomorrow night or Saturday?
Yeah, let's do that. Tomorrow night or Saturday, we'll tell them both winners. Now, what if some of these people, and what if the ones who particularly win, have already purchased your paperback? Do we want to offer?
Yeah, I can be willing to do one of my other books, or we could just make that into like an Amazon gift card or
okay.
Yeah. So if you're interested if you've not read all of my other books, then we can work something out on that. So the first giveaway is for anyone who submitted a question, and those comments are probably closed now because I'm not going to be answering any more questions. But then the next giveaway, part 2, is also a paperback. And that one is for anyone who is participating here tonight or tomorrow. So we'll leave the comments open through tomorrow. And then that's how you can be entered in for that one. And then do you have, since Lisa was over and helping us out, she put a couple of things in on the private chat. So make sure to count Lisa on that, because I don't think it showed up on comments. But thank you so much, Lisa, for being our guinea pig. We appreciate you so much.
Yeah, we were like, okay, how do we know they're going to get it?
That's funny.
Yeah.
So there's 2 different paperbacks going out. If you've already read Shira's Legacy or have already purchased the paperback, let me know. We'll work out something and go from there. So those will be tallied tomorrow. By the end of tomorrow night, you can, if you're watching in the replay, be sure to comment in here as well. And your comment, make sure if you're not registered with StreamYard though, comment your name so I can see, although in Facebook we should be able to see it no problem. So just let us know, and then that will be for the second paperback. So.
Okay.
Thank you all so much for showing up today. And if you're watching in the replay, this has been a lot of fun. Again, if you are an author of biblical fiction or early church era, Dana and I offer the service of doing this interview. And we'd love to get some more of that happening on as we go. So you are so welcome. Charlene says, thank you. Rebecca says, that's great to hear. Barbara says, yay. Thank you so much for all of you who have helped read and leave reviews, for showing up here today, for the whole process. I'm so thankful for all of you who are part of this journey, and I truly hope that Shira's Legacy will touch you in a special way as it.
Well, I just wanted to kind of, you're thanking them for all their support and their reviews and their pre-orders. And I was just checking on at the Amazon rankings, while we were working this afternoon. And I'm going to say they were like in the 30s and 40s. I
Mhm.
think one was 34 and one was 40 something for the top Christian fiction, the top inspirational historical fiction, and one other
Yeah.
something. Yeah, it was great. So
Yeah.
she was like way up there, and it's all because of you guys, because there's
Yeah.
so many reviews posted already, and plus the pre-orders.
The
So
pre-orders, yes. If you know you're going to read an author's book and you can get a pre-order price, then go ahead and do it because that does boost authors' numbers. There's a whole behind the scenes thing with uh, Amazon and all that, but that all kind of dumps in on one day. So I'm sure my great rankings won't last very long, but it's like all the pre-orders dump on one day. So then Amazon's like, hey, look, we got a lot of sales on this one. Let's bring it to more
yeah,
attention. So it really does help. So if you know you're already going to read the book and you can get it for a great pre-ordered price, paperback or ebook, um, then I would encourage you to do that. And thank you for doing that because then it does help Amazon see that this is something worth promoting, and then it helps the author. It's just good for everybody. So usually
yeah.
you get a good deal on it too if you pre-order. So.
Okay.
Alrighty. Well, be sure to comment in the comments in the Facebook page for through tomorrow, and those will be counted towards that second drawing. So, and then be sure I've got lots of I've got a book box going, and that's going through next week, and then also open internationally one of 3 ebooks of Shira's Legacy. So lots of fun opportunities to win. So thank you so much. We really appreciate all of you showing up tonight and making this a success.
Yeah, this was fun. Okay.
Excuse me. Facebook user hearts back to you. Thank you. Thank you, and we will see you around online.
Okay.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.